DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one daily masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today, we're going into part 2 of 2. I already told you this was coming. We are going into signs of being a critical thinker. How do you actually know that you or the person that you are dealing with is actually a critical thinker, or they're just throwing some bullshit out there? Sometimes you got people throwing bullshit out there. So we got to know the difference between the two. So if you did not hear yesterday's episode where I explained the concept and defined critical thinking and also gave some basic ideas for how to actually be a critical thinker, make sure you listen to that episode. This one goes right along with it. So let's get right into it. So we're going to go points 4, 5, 6, and 7 today to go hand in hand with points 1, 2, 3 from yesterday. So let's get right to it. Oh, before I get to that, let me remind you that I have a text line where you can text me and tell me the most valuable insight, best thing you got. What are you going to do differently? Or if you disagree with something that I said, tell me. My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Normal messaging rates apply. And let me know what you think. Let's get right to it. Point number 4. Topic again, signs of being a critical thinker. Number 4, you are not angered by views that differ from yours. Now this one we gotta let sit for a minute, because especially nowadays with social media, this is the people who fit this description are few and far between. Not angered by views that differ from yours. Now, what does social media have to do with that? You may be thinking. I'm going to tell you what social media has to do with it, is that social media's algorithms are designed to only show you more of what they know you already agree with. So if you follow a lot of stuff in the education world, they're going to show you more stuff that's based on education. Or if you follow a lot of sports, they're going to show you more sports. And if you follow more of a certain type of political leaning, they will show you more people and things that align with that leaning, and they will not show you anything that goes against it. And because of this, what happens is people not understanding the difference between social media and quote unquote real life is that people start to believe, since all they're seeing is this idea, or people who agree with this idea, that they start to believe that it's impossible to have a different idea. So when they do come across someone who has a different idea, they can't possibly believe it. And then there's conflict, there's tension, there's anger, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. I'm sure you have seen it, maybe even been involved in it yourself. Critical thinkers are not bothered when someone has an opinion that's not the same as theirs. You are not disturbed when someone doesn't understand you. You're not disturbed when someone doesn't agree with your point of view. You actually welcome people asking you to explain what you think. You welcome people asking you to justify what you think. You don't escape the conversation when someone asks you about your beliefs by using escapism quotes and phrases such as "go look it up" or "you need to educate yourself." Those are escapism quotes that people use when they don't really have any substance to offer in their arguments. If you had it, then you'd be willing to tell people what it is. And if the more solid your point is, the easier it is for you to explain it to another person. I mean, you already looked it up. You already educated yourself. Why not share the wealth with other people? I mean, if there is any substance behind your argument. Now, if there's no substance behind it, then I completely understand why you don't want to educate anybody. But there's a lot of people using this whole educate yourself thing. I just talked about this a couple days ago in episode 1822. It is your job to educate people if you already have the education. It's the whole purpose of it is to share the wealth, let people know what you know. Point number 5, today's topic once again is signs of a strong critical thinker. Number 5, you don't like it when people insult others. When you see people getting insulted for thinking differently or for having a conflicting point of view, it bothers you when they get attacked just because they have a different way of looking at things. Now, I want y'all to understand, there is a difference between you being wrong about something, meaning you are factually incorrect, and having a different point of view, i.e. you have a different opinion. I can have whatever opinion that I want to have. Now, if I have a fact wrong, then you can check me on the fact. But if I have a different opinion, there's no such thing as a wrong opinion. Now, there's a wrong opinion, quote unquote, like a tongue-in-cheek thing, like a joke. But anybody can have any opinion that they want. There's no such thing as a right opinion. There's no such thing as a wrong opinion. But you might be swayed to not even understand that, depending on who you hang with and where you spend your time in your life these days. Because there are people out here who have these beliefs that only their opinion or only certain opinions are okay, and any opinion other than that must be wrong in some way, shape, or form, or every way, shape, or form. Listen, sometimes in life, everyone, people just won't see eye to eye. And I want y'all to understand that that's all right. We don't have to all have the same opinions. The flavor of life is that we have different opinions. What makes that flavor useful, how we can taste that flavor of different opinions, is when you get a bunch of critical thinkers in a room together, people who know how to have respectful conversations, people who know how to disagree with each other, and not turn it into being disrespect. I talked about episode number 1698, why being disagreeable is a key to your success, not always going along with what everyone else is saying. Episode 1529, how to talk with people with whom you disagree. And episode 1527, how to disagree respectfully. And also episode 1098, why you need to converse with those who you disagree with. So I've talked about these in previous episodes. So if you haven't listened to any of those episodes, the links are all below down in the show notes. So you don't have to remember what I just said. Just scroll down, you'll see links to all of those episodes. You can listen to them at your convenience. Sometimes there are some people in life who have opinions like Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time. And there are other people out there who have wrong, stupid opinions that LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. Now, that's just a joke. That's tongue in cheek. Hopefully you caught that. But you can appreciate when people have different opinions. A critical thinker can appreciate the differences in opinion without coming unglued, without becoming upset with the dumb people who have the wrong opinion. That's another joke. Hope you caught that one. So you can accept that someone has an opinion that's different from yours, even the exact opposite of yours. Accept them, appreciate them, understand, instead of just demonizing them or being mad at them or ignoring them or cutting yourself off from them or cutting them off from you. How about you become, what's the word I'm looking for? Inquisitive. Start asking questions. What did I just tell you yesterday? Critical thinkers ask questions. Critical thinkers are skeptical. Critical thinkers are also humble. Meaning you'll ask questions about that other person's opinion is different from yours. You are skeptical maybe of their argument, maybe of your own, and you're humble enough to understand that, hey, maybe my way of thinking of things isn't the only way of thinking of it. All right, tell me what you think. But that person has to be willing to share. This is why you need critical thinkers working together, because if someone's not a critical thinker and they start being asked questions, or they come across someone who is skeptical of their conclusions, that person who's not a critical thinker will come unglued because they're being questioned. A smart person who is a critical thinker wants to be questioned because it, number one, allows them to explain themselves. Number two, they get better at articulating their point. And number three, hey, maybe you'll convince somebody, or not even convince them. You'll be able to open someone else's mind because their mind was already open. You'll be able to open it a little bit more with your information, whatever it is. So a critical thinker wants people to question them. They want people to challenge them. They want people to not see things the same way that they see them because it allows for the communication. Critical thinkers are looking forward to that communication because they know not only will they get to teach something, but they also could possibly learn something. Again, are you a critical thinker? Check yourself. Point number 6. And everything I'm saying here today, you should be checking yourself against every point that I'm giving. I should have said that yesterday. I didn't, but I'll say it right now in the middle of this episode. Check yourself against every point that I'm giving here today and ask yourself, are you doing these things? Are you doing these things, or are you violating these? Because critical thinkers are doing the stuff that I'm saying here today. So if you're not doing them, then that should be telling you something about yourself. Point number 6, once again, the topic is signs of being a critical thinker. Number 6, you are fascinated by how things work, or at least learning how things work. You might not even know, but you want to learn. You are a type of person, critical thinker, who goes the extra mile to learn the underlying why of things. You don't just accept things as they are. You want to know why they are that way. Again, the inquisitiveness of a critical thinker. You are always asking questions to the point that you may annoy some people who don't want to be questioned. You just keep asking questions. Well, why is this? Or why is this? And why is this? Because you want to know the underlying reason behind things. I'm that type of person who I'm always asking people when they give me information. And I ask them, well, how do you know that? How do you know that? I understood what you said, but how do you know that that's true? What experience do you have? What information do you have? What knowledge or facts do you have? What perspective, what point of view do you have that allows you to say that so confidently and with such authority that you actually know what you're talking about? And what I find I would say about 85% of the time when I ask a question like that of people, there is no substance behind what they know. Either let me change that. Let me alter that, what I just said. There is either no substance behind what they know, meaning they just have this belief that is based on nothingness, or B, they can't explain how they know it. There is a way that they know it, but they're not able to articulate it. And that's just a failure in communication by that person, or just a gap in communication. We'll not even say they're failing. We'll just say it's a gap in their communication because maybe they never needed to explain it until they came across an inquisitive, question asking individual like me, annoying person asking them all these questions that they finally figured out, or they finally realized that they didn't know how to explain it, even though they understand it and they could explain it if you ask enough questions. And I'm the type of person who knows how to ask the right questions to get someone to explain how they know what they know, but not everybody has that ability. So somebody could know something and they know how they know it, but they never thought about how they knew it, so they never thought about how to explain it. Therefore, when they get questioned, they can't do it. So it might look on the surface as if there's no substance behind it, but there actually is if you ask the right question. And guess what? We did a whole episode on asking the right question, which is one of the most important skills that you need these days. I talked about in episode 1494, how to ask better questions, and episode 1741, why asking the right question is more important than the right answer. And I also have a book called Ask Yourself a Better Question. If you didn't know about it, you can get it at workonyourgame.com. So we're still on point number 6 here. You don't just accept what you're given. You don't just accept what you're told because you want to know the how of things. People who fit this description have the habit of asking that question that I just said. How do you know? Everyone who's listening to me, equip yourself with this question and start using it more often. How do you know? When I share things here on this show, I'm answering that question without you even asking it. Because any point that I make here, if I'm going to assert a point of view, or I'm going to assert a perspective, I'm going to tell you how I came to that point of view, how I came to that perspective. I'm not telling it to you because you have to agree with me. I'm telling it to you so you understand how I thought about it and how I got to where I'm at. You could come to somewhere else. And that's why I offer you to share with me how you came to where you came to. The thing is, if you come to a different perspective than me, then I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to question you. I'm going to ask you questions. So make sure you're able to express it. Make sure you're able to articulate it. And that's a skill. Being able to articulate what's in your head, getting what's in your head out there into the world is a skill. And there's a whole industry built around it. They call it thought leadership. So asking that question, how do you know, is really important for critical thinkers because they want to know how people came to their conclusions, what experience and information contributed to it. Fellow critical thinkers are happy when they come across these type of people. While people who are not critical thinkers, we'll call them uncritical thinkers, they bristle at having their points challenged. And I know a lot of people who are, you would think looking at them on the surface that they would be very educated, very smart, that you would think they must be a critical thinker to have the position that they have and the title that they have. But then when you start questioning them and challenging them on their points, they come unglued so quickly that you're like, oh, maybe this person is not as critical a thinker as I thought they were. I've had many experiences like that, which were more disappointing than satisfying. Moving on to point number 7. Today's topic, once again, is signs of a critical thinker. How do you know that you or anyone that you're dealing with is indeed a critical thinker? Number 7, you can and you want to have rational conversations with people with whom you disagree. This is what a critical thinker does. A critical thinker wants these conversations. They do not avoid these conversations. They do not exit these conversations. They do not use escape clauses in these conversations, such as you need to go look it up or Google it, or I don't have to educate you. They want to have these conversations. Why? Number 1, they get to explain themselves. Number 2, they get better at communicating their point. Number 3, they might learn something while explaining and being asked questions that maybe there's some gap in their information. Critical thinkers want to be challenged. They want to talk to people that they don't agree with. It's fun to talk with these people who think differently from you because as long as you have, let's just say, as long as you have the internal fortitude to stand on your opinion and the person that you're talking to has the internal fortitude to stand on their opinion. These are the conversations that I want to hear. Like if there's a podcast out there or a YouTube show or anything where people bring people on the show where they don't agree, but they have a critical conversation, a critical thinker conversation between both of them about their perspectives and their opinions and why they both think the way that they think. I want to know about that show. So any of you know of a show that fits that description, that the host brings on people that they do not agree with, but they have rational, respectful dialogue about each of their opinions, and they just go back and forth and they pitch and catch in a respectful way. Tell me what that show is. I will listen to it. I will subscribe. All right. They will have at least one new subscriber in me if you could tell me what that show is. If it exists, I don't know where it is. Most of the shows I listen to, people bring on their friends, people that they like, and usually your friends you think the same way as them. If you want me, Dre Baldwin, to respect your intellect and respect your knowledge, when we disagree on something, if and when we ever disagree on something, you must be able to state your case and stand up to my challenge of your case. All right, that's what I respect, intellectually. I don't care what the topic is. We could be talking about LeBron versus Jordan. We could be talking about the cops and systemic racism or anything in between those two. If we do not agree, I just need you to be able to make your case, why you think what you think, and then when I challenge you on it, answer the questions. That's it. When someone states a point that I am skeptical of, I might agree or disagree, but I'm just skeptical of why they have that point, and I start asking them questions, and they immediately bail out of the conversation, or they kind of their emotions start coming into it just because they're being challenged. It's harder for me to respect that person's knowledge. I can respect them as a human, but it's hard for me to respect their knowledge because they can't even stand on their own ideas. If you're going to have an idea or a point of view and you want to put it out there, then be able to stand on it, meaning be able to defend it. People will challenge you in life. Challenge is a part of life, everybody. Competition is a part of life. Now, if you have an opinion, then other people may have a different opinion. And if they don't see things the way that you see things, that's all right. And then them challenging you is all right too. You just need to be better at two things. Number one, communicating your point of view so people can understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. And number two, having the emotional fortitude, the internal fortitude to not get emotional just because you're being challenged. Being challenged is okay. Be happy when you're being challenged because it'll make you better when you stand up to it. Even if you lose, you'll be better by standing up to it than by quitting or running away or exiting the conversation, which I've seen way too many people do. People who I thought were more critical of a thinker than they actually turned out to be. Different story again for a different day. Let's actually not move on, but let's recap today's class, which is the signs of being a critical thinker. This is part 2 of 2. Goes hand in hand with yesterday's episode on how to be a critical thinker. Point number 4, you are not angered by views that are different from yours. You are not bothered when someone does not understand or agree with you. You welcome their request for you to explain and justify it. Point number 5, you do not like when people throw out insults just because someone else has a conflicting point of view. In life, sometimes people just don't see eye to eye. All right, there are smart people out there who think Michael Jordan's the best player of all time. And there are stupid people who think LeBron is better than Jordan. That is a joke. But you can appreciate that these people have differences in opinion, and you don't come unglued, you don't become upset, and you don't start throwing out insults just because someone has the wrong opinion. Again, another joke, no such thing as a wrong opinion. Point number 6, you are fascinated by how things work. You're willing to go the extra mile to learn the underlying why of things in life. And you don't just accept what you're given, don't just accept what you're told. People who fit this description have the habit of asking the question that sounds like, how do you know? All right, they want to know how people came to their conclusions, not just what the conclusion is. And fellow critical thinkers will appreciate and accept the how do you know question, while uncritical thinkers don't like you challenging them. Point number 7, you can and you want to have rational conversation with people with whom you disagree. It is fun to talk about things with people who think differently from you because both of you will learn something and both of you will be able to sharpen your sword, basically going against someone who is challenging you because you know that they think differently from you. So when someone states a point and I challenge it and they immediately their emotions start coming into it, or they get frustrated or get annoyed or they bail out of the conversation, it's hard for me to respect their knowledge. I can respect them as a human, but it's hard for me to respect their knowledge because they're not even willing to stand on their own point. Now, if you believe something, to be able to stand on it, be able to defend it with some actual evidence, not just your emotions, not just, well, it's just what I think, and that's just all it is. I just think that, and I don't want to defend it. That makes no sense. All right, that means maybe you haven't put any critical thinking into your own beliefs, and that makes me start questioning more things about you if you have that habit. So make sure you check yourself for everything we talked about yesterday and today. Send me a text. Tell me the most valuable insight. What are you going to think or do different based on what you heard today? My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre, all day.